Hey guys, it's Bastian time. This is This Week in Zelda News. I'm your host Bastian, wearing my brand new highly encrusted green Zelda shirt. Anyways, let's get to that first story. So first up is a fascinating project started by 8 artists who I guess are all friends, and it's this website where they sort of collaborate on projects. Now the idea behind this project is that each of the 8 artists would just do a very basic sketch of some sort of Zelda-related piece, and then another artist would go ahead and take on the task of trying to sort of realize that sketch as a fully realized art piece. And now sometimes that would be almost a literal translation of the sketch into an art piece. Other times it could be a bit vague. They would sort of maybe take only an element, like maybe the sketch artist had drawn Link with some cuckoos and other things going on, like flying with the cuckoos or something. The artist might just take the fact that there's Link and cuckoos and then do something completely different with that. So anyways, it's a fascinating gallery. You should definitely check it out. A lot of really great Zelda fan art pieces by some really awesome professional artists. There's a link for you down below. Next up is a very unusual mistake found in the UK manuals for Phantom Hourglass. In the US version of Phantom Hourglass, well, in basically any of the Zelda games, we have a character who reappears in many games known as Beedle. And an interesting piece of trivia about him that I'm sure you already know is that he's called Beedle because he kind of looks like a beetle with his haircut, one of the famous musicians, one of the Beatles. But in any case, he's called Beedle in most of, with a D, in most of the games. However, there are some languages where his name is translated as Terry. The UK, however, has, just like the US, always translated his name as Beedle. However, in the Phantom Hourglass manual, they randomly, accidentally refer to him as Terry, which is an amusing mistake because he is known by that name in I think, France and Germany, for instance, in their version of the game, but not in any of the UK versions, so the manual sort of makes it seem like they've made a complete bizarre mistake, but there's actually some sense behind it. Next up is an interesting video from GameExplain. They have these series of videos called CoolBits, where they sort of have a video that talks about some sort of unusual piece of gaming trivia, and this one is about Link the Thief. You might remember that in Link's Awakening, you can sort of betray your otherwise hero morals and participate in some thievery. This is a video all about that, so if you want to go and give that a view, there's a link for you down below. And speaking of Zelda videos, here's an unusual one. It's called 13 Ways to Die in The Legend of Zelda, specifically the original Legend of Zelda. But these ways to die have absolutely nothing to do with actual ways you could die in the original Legend of Zelda. Instead of their bizarre sort of rifts in time-space where other types of classic retro gaming enemies and such appear and Link dies as a result of those unusual circumstances. And even by himself, a different iteration of himself. So definitely watch this video, it's pretty amusing. Link for you down below. Yes, I know Christmas has been over for quite a while now, but we've got one more Zelda Christmas-related video. It's Ganon Claus, and he will be happy to sing you about his interesting existence as Ganon Claus. Pretty funny video, so you'll want to check that out. So what would a Zelda News episode be without some Did You Know Gaming? And this week's Did You Know Gaming Zelda-related thing is about something I had never heard of before, so thank goodness for Did You Know Gaming. There's apparently a secret pot hidden in Ocarina of Time. It's probably an accident. I don't think it's supposed to be secret. I don't think it's supposed to be invisible. But in the programming, there are 2 pots sitting next to each other and for whatever reason, only one of those has an image surrounding it. So the other one exists as a piece of code, and you can smash into it and be behind it and all of that stuff, but it's invisible. So definitely, if you want to check out that secret invisible pot in Ocarina of Time, there's going to be that link for you explaining how to do that. Next up is something that is a little frustrating, and it's the fact that LEGO has reviewed one of the LEGO sets for Zelda that somebody had submitted to them, and has rejected it, unfortunately. Now, for those not in the know, LEGO has this group set up that allows aspiring LEGO set creators to go ahead and submit an idea. And if LEGO reviews that idea and thinks it's financially viable, they'll go ahead and make it into an actual set that people can purchase. They did so for Minecraft, so some Zelda fans thought, why the heck not Zelda? So several different fans have submitted several different LEGO sets. One of those gained enough votes to be passed on to LEGO's group. They have reviewed it, but what they said is that, unfortunately, as designed in this particular proposal, it would require too many unique pieces. So those of you out there who have LEGO set designing skills and want to submit a new proposal, take that into mind and try to design your proposal with fewer new original pieces. If you could go ahead and simplify it to something that LEGO could go ahead and produce using pre-existing pieces, then they're much more likely to go ahead and try to collaborate with Nintendo on that. But they just feel that it's not financially viable with basically every single piece having to be custom, unfortunately. Next up is a pretty unusual bit of Zelda trivia, and it's the fact that if you're like me, when you played the original Legend of Zelda, you might have noticed, in retrospect, all of these years later, that Mr. Miyamoto's name appears very differently in that game. It appears as Miyahon. And a lot of people think that that's a nickname for him, but what they don't realize is that it was, quite frankly, an accident, a mistranslation. Miyamoto are two different kanjis, and the second kanji can be pronounced as either Han or Moto. So unfortunately, it got romanized in that first instance as Han instead of Moto. So that is a mistake. However, a group of fans have sort of latched onto that and now have used that as a nickname for him, but it's not an accurate translation of those kanji. So it's just kind of amusing, and now we know. In the previous week, you might remember that amusing Lindsey Sterling video, the Smashing Pots video. There's now released a behind-the-scenes about how they made that video, and the behind-the-scenes video is just as amusing and interesting as the actual Smashing Pots video, in my opinion. So you'll definitely want to go ahead and take a look at that. There will be a link for you for that behind-the-scenes video down below. And then our final story is about sort of Error from Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link, but his doppelganger Bagu. Now, I think that they're meant to be brothers, and you might remember that, of course, there's that infamous character who says, "I am Error," and a lot of people back in the day used to think this was a bizarre glitch in the game, and he wasn't actually supposed to say that his name was Error. They thought that it was literally an error, which, in retrospect, doesn't make that much sense. But yes, his name actually is Error, but what was not known to me until just recently, thanks to this story, is that his brother or palette color swap doppelganger Bagu, that is a mistranslation. His name is actually supposed to be Bug. It's supposed to be Error and Bug, which are the developers' sort of nerdy jokes about, you know, bugs, glitches in the game, bug and error. So that's pretty funny. It's just too bad that all of these years he's been known as Bagu, and that just doesn't make that joke make sense. So a quick shout out to Sebastian M, Marco H, and Michelle J. They are 3 individuals who went ahead and contributed to the HD webcam fun thingamajig, which, in case you haven't been paying attention the past couple of weeks, I finally listened to the outcries of we need these videos in HD, and then the suggestions from several people, well, why don't you just take donations for the cams? So I'm doing that, and so we've got 4 donations so far. Hopefully it picks up so that this will become a viable option, but thanks to those 3, I really appreciate it, and if you want to go ahead and contribute to the HD Webcam Fund, there's a link for you down below, and I'll be sure to give you a shout out as well in a forthcoming video, so thanks guys! So that's it for this episode of This Week in Zelda News. Tomorrow is This Week in Nintendo News, and I'll see you then. Bye guys!